Hello. Hey there, everyone. Hey there. Hi, Aurelia. Hope you're all doing well. Sorry I'm a little late. Here we go. So. Glad you liked it. So, let's see what we're doing. Right, this time we're trying something different and see if this thing works. So if I go to the live scene, and then I click this button, then I should be able to do, this, yes. Oh, yeah, cool. Slowly but surely, I'm figuring out about the kind of shit we can do with OBS. Getting there. But hey, let's look at what we're gonna do today. Now, menu appear, disappear, pausing a thing. This is unimportant at this point. What did we have from the day before? Unimportant. Look at these skills. I love the silly stuff like that. I know, it's the best. Honestly, very strong inspiration is of course Casual Elephant, and he told me how to do that. The first time I tried to do it, I ended up downloading like a plugin separately that does that. And then I realized, wait, no, there's just internal settings in OBS. You see, because what I'm doing here is just turning a filter on and then switching the filter essentially off or into another state, which is like move source, because it automatically essentially animate between states A and B. So we turn one state where I'm zoomed in, and another where I'm zoomed out. In case someone else wants to figure out how to do that with OBS. Of course, I'm in a scene where I used to have the coding be a separate scene. Now I have a live scene, and then the entire live scene goes into a separate scene, which just have that scene as an input, and we're zooming in on that individual scene, essentially moving it around. I'll get that info from you, lol. I giggle all the time when Casual does it. Yeah, because it took me a while to figure out, oh yes, of course, it's nesting scenes, because you can make a source in an OBS scene that is another scene. So you have your one scene that has all the complicated parts in it. And then I'm not doing the zoom in that one. Then I import that entire scene into a separate scene where all of that is a single piece of video source. Because then I can have a state where it's all zoomed in, essentially stretched out. So it's zoomed in, which is its state like this. And then where it's in a more viewable state. And that's how you do the zooms. And then you can make it rotate. The OBS does all that for you. Which I still have to have. I also want the essentially just, steal straight from Casual. All those funny little zoom effects where the camera zooms in and tilts What? Hello there, Argyoko. Hope you're doing well. Nice seeing you around and resubbing for 4 months at tier 1. Jesus Christ. Thank you very much. Very, very kind of you. And I hope you're having a wonderful day and a wonderful weekend, my friend. Hey, look at you. Double A's. Yeah, because the subbers also get the TTS. So nice. Yeah, I hope you like the fact that, because I personally enjoy the fact that the TTS keeps on changing. So it says.
Casual did a stream explaining all of those effects last year.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, because he keeps on doing that, and I always miss those. But then every now and then I just ask him, and he just answers directly. Oh, you just use stream. What is it? Filter source, and then I googled it, and I found filter source separate plugin for that. And I tried that. It did it. But always adding plugins means you add complexity, which add more math, add more steps, bogs down the process. And then until I realized, wait, this is just an inbuilt filter. I don't need these third-party tools to do what OBS already can do. And now slowly learning. But hey, they're gonna attack. Hope you're doing well. Nice seeing you around. Oh, and ads have begun. Perfect. Then I can do what I was forgotten. Remember, kids, take your meds. They drink the broth. Ooh. Heckin' amazing. Maybe like Casual won't do it, then I'll try to do my own little YouTube video. Or how to do a little zoom effect using just filter. Move source filter. Actually, no, that's not a bad idea. And I mean, I keep on having all these like good ideas for YouTube, but then I never find the time to make it because I'm always streaming. And when I'm not streaming, I am a pathetic mess in a pile somewhere. All my energy gets spent here, which I don't mind you. You all actually give me the energy to do this. One of the fun facts of the many faces of a different depressed person. When we're alone, sometimes the apathy wins. I know you don't control ads, but God, I've been getting baby ones lately, and I hate it because I have zero interest in having a child. Oh, now we're back from the ads. Lovely. And yeah, that sounds. I'm sorry, Ray. That just sounds kind of funny. And it's one of those things where I'm like, you see, that would be a smart thing. Like if there was government control over ads, baby ads, depending on your detected demographic sort of structure, would be smart because there's a whole global problem in like the Western world of declining birth rates, which is an interesting problem, but also has a stupidly simple solution, which is to pay people more. Because it has been proven, so I say proven, but there's a lot of evidence to support this. Because first of all, if everyone is so stressed out, then they have to work multiple jobs in order to just stay afloat, and everyone has to work all the time. There's literally no time to have a family, and there's a lot of cultural messaging saying like, you can do it later. Except you can't, can you? There is a deadline. So if like minimum wages were increased, more laws, more union support for like making sure people have enough free time and all that, and suddenly people would have the time and money and energy to make families, and then declining birth rates would be fixed. Hello there, Ketture. How you doing? I was amusing at first. Now I'm just over it, lol. Yeah, totally understandable. I'm like, yeah, honestly. Yeah, so there was this like small documentary bit I saw years ago about, I think it was like some insurance company in the US where a new owner ended up buying it and then became the CEO, and everyone got really upset with him because he was like, you know what, people are like really stressed. I'm gonna take a humongous pay cut. He like cut off like over half his pay, I think. And the funny fact is, of course, even after that cut, he still made like about $1 million a year or more than that. So his annual income would still remain ridiculous, even with the pay cut. And using that, he just raised everyone's wages and gave them, like a guaranteed paid time off. And this was in the US, where guaranteed paid time off isn't mandated in law. And the funny fact is that a lot of his compatriots, a lot of people criticize this move, saying like, oh no, he's going to ruin the business and everything, and things are going to go badly. But the thing is, all his employees became extremely loyal and actually were more invested in the success of the business. So the business did actually really well, and a disproportionate amount of employees started to have families and have kids compared to other workplaces. So there's some pretty strong evidence for a correlation between enough free time, financial security, not just stability, but like assured security, and then the willingness and drive to start, fixing the whole declining birth rate problem. And it isn't really that like unintuitive. Like, of course, if we had money and I feel safe, well, maybe I would have time for a family. Maybe that could work out. Morning there, puppy. Nice seeing you around. Oh, for the year's actual paid leave, yeah? And maybe consider a child if money was more reasonable. Exactly, that's the thing. I am very EP, but here. Well, thank you for coming by, Ketture. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think the US has some paid leave things, but it's not like, because it really much depends on the employer. Whereas compared to like in Europe, we have legally mandated maternity leave, paternity leave, X amount of paid time off. There's a lot of, strong unions did a lot of good work here, and thanks to the socialist history and the socialism's like just embraced sort of logic in our culture, made all of that make sense. I think it's the whole US mentality of being so anti-communist and anti-socialist that made these notions seem somehow so different from what it looks like from a European, where just not, of course, you have to have take some time off, and you have to make sure people are paid for it. Duh. It's what feels like, yeah, every question has a different level of normalcy depending on the culture you're from, essentially. Han said the S word. Oh, schniggity snag. It can be better by a state. Federal only provides unpaid leave, so they can't fire you while having a child. That seems, for my silly little socialist ass, sounds insane. Now, there's a strong case with all that. I know it's fictional, but Bruce Wayne, also as Batman, tried to ruin his business by giving more and more unreasonable perks and wages only for the boost his business boom even more. Ooh, thank you for the 3-stream streak there, Keturev. Yeah, that is like a fictional example, but the thing, the funny thing is there's a surprisingly large amount of actual evidence which very strongly suggest a correlation there. I don't want to use the word prove because I'm anal about these things. The correct term is strong indicators of correlation, which means it requires more studies, because I'm very annoyed when there's so many things in popular media are people saying like, oh no, this one study proves, that this is how things work. I'm like, that's not how anything works. One study proves nothing. One study proves that more studies might be a good idea. Keyword might. Because most studies, as we keep on finding out, are not reproducible. I do believe there's one single, or like this is a very small amount of actual paid scientists like groups who spend all their time only trying to reproduce existing studies, and it turns out a lot of them are not reproducible. So a lot of scientific evidence is just suggestions. Ideas that might work out. Yeah, proves nothing. Such deep conversation, cause I got a baby ad. Lol, hey, I am nothing if not easily distractible. But I agree with you what you're saying. Well, I'm glad to feel like that way, Ray. I'm just trying to stall programming. That is also quite possibly true. Puppy. But hey, let's have a look-see then. What are we doing today? I was thinking, because I am still having one of these, you have a day off, you end up doing stupid shit. Now I got like a tummy ache because I'm suffering from greedy pig syndrome. I just ate literally too much. So I'm a little slow today. But one thing that I was thinking that would still be fun to add for the whole testing and visualization is trying to figure out, because what we talked about last time, how damage transfer works. So we'll do that. And then to visualize that, we'll have damage numbers that pop up. Normalize having ChatGPT optimize your code. Red Little Sleepy? No. God, oh God, no. That's horrifying. I mean, you can use it to help you. Absolutely. You can get good ideas. Things you didn't know existed. Unknown unknowns remain a very big stumbling block everywhere. And ChatGPT has been very handy in that it can, shine light on those unknown unknowns, and then know okay, now I know about that. I didn't know that was a thing. Okay, maybe I can test that out. But don't let it actually write your code. You can end up with mid-code at best, and you will deprive yourself of the practice that would make you a better coder. Right, use it as a sounding board. Yeah, exactly. Ooh, and most people do not read the conclusion section of studies, which often show high limitations of academic studies based on population and funding. A very true gun attack. And of course, it also depends on where those studies are done. Like, one example is a lot of psychological studies, which are then quoted all, many places, have a big problem because they're all done by students on other students. So not only are they all mostly focused on people, mostly Americans, so there's a cultural bias. They're students, so they're all at a certain, usually at the same sort of like stage in their life. So that also is a very strong bias because they're students. Human being psyche changes very strongly depending on which part of your life cycle you're on. And that hopeful future and struggle and ideology that you have as a young adult and student is usually then tempered by, real life experience later on. So you would want a much broader spectrum. And GPT and Claude is only getting worse and worse as it consumes and learns from its own output. Yeah, I mean, that is one of the problems, because, it will always equalize, because, if you have your shitty input and your high quality input, and you have your AI learn from this, and then so there's a medium there, right? Mid at best, because there's a large amount of shit code, because a lot of people learn code and they do it, on their own, and they're beginners, and of course you have your own like GitHubs and so on to store that code, have your project, something you can look back on, and just like social media, you have pictures from a long time ago, you have a code from a long time ago, and code, technology progresses and so on and so forth. And there's a lot of students there, so there's a disproportionately large amount of shit code compared to really good code, because eventually you end up working for a company, and then the best work you do is proprietary. You can't share that in a public environment, so there's going to be more shit code than good code. So the mid will actually be not even true mid; it'll be like slightly lower mid, and then using this, the GPT will just increase, because it makes more, or any AI code thing will make more of this quality code, which means that it's in a while its new mid will be slightly lower now, because it's making more shitty code, so its own medium is in a downward curve. It's just statistics of medium. If you add more medium, your medium goes down. It doesn't go up. But as a tool, amazing. So like I said, highlighting unknown unknowns, because there's so many things in this world to know, and you literally cannot know the unknown unknowns, things you don't know about, because you can't ask about a thing you don't know that's there. What day is it? 25th. Get right. Go. Yeah, culture L, gender bias. Yeah, gender bias is also, it's a very interesting one. I think, wasn't there something about like seat belts work better for men than women, and that is because of something in their design, because the original seatbelt designs were all tested on men. It kind of makes sense, because you have the strap that goes over the chest, and women would then have something extra on the chest, and that might sometimes affect how effective it eventually is, because sort of like at which point does it like clench, so it might leave you like too much space to move forward and injure yourself. There's a lot of these weird things in statistics, which is caused by gender biases. It's very interesting, actually, if you decide to go into it. And it's a tool. It is supposed to be a starting point to handle most boilerplate, and then leave it up to you to handle a few cleanups and touches for your actual code. Yeah, exactly. It is a wonderful tool. The problem always remains, where do you get your data from? That is the whole problem with generative AI. Because a lot of that shit is stolen, especially on the art side. In the code side, a lot of people who share code publicly do it with an open source license, so the AI coding, generative AI coding thing is less legally unclear. But on the art side, it is just straight up stolen for a lot of generative AI. Now, the goals for today would be, let's say, I'll call it damage handling. We'll have to figure out our logic for that one. Like, I have the ideas in my head, but how do they work in practice? Not entirely certain. And then we want damage numbers for visuals. And get to that. I wanted to use it for more accessibility reasons, but it is just costing more and more time and keystrokes rather than saving any work. Yeah. I tried it like a few times. The problem was I'm not good enough. I wasn't good enough of a coder, because it kept on like filling up, making functions for me, and I'm like, I got no idea what the fuck you're just making there. I'm certain it'll most likely work, but I personally don't know what or why. And that is hampering my learning. So I don't want to do it. Using the AI thing to write code for you makes sense if you are a professional, and like you said, writing boilerplate, something you've done a lot. But then we have students using it, which then literally unmakes any concept of learning, because you're not learning. You're not doing the work. Someone else is doing the work. It's essentially like giving a school assignment for someone, for them to do the things so they will learn how to do these things in the future, and they immediately offload it to someone else. You do it for me. Then you get the output, and you give it back, say like, this is my work, and then you grade it on that. You might get the grades, but you learned nothing, because learning happens through doing. You have to make theory stick. You have to turn it. You have to do it practically. Okay, so these are our goals for today. We'll see what happens once we get those done. So, wow. I have used it to write a Python script to override inputs from a secondary keyboard. That was a 6-week project, and much of it was going around in circles, but I did eventually get it to tell me what I needed. Yeah. Well, if you got it to work, that's good. That in itself is a... you knew what you wanted, and you got it to work. So that already is a victory there. And then I guess if you want to learn more, then you hopefully then also did a lot of that coding yourself. And eventually understood sort of why it worked, why it didn't work, and so on. Yeah, because why it didn't work was funny, because I remember trying to use it to optimize a piece of code I had. And every piece of optimization it suggested broke something else. And then after a little bit, I kept on asking, well, fix this and optimize, fix this and optimize. Until it eventually went all the way to the beginning and broke shit again. And it literally looped around. Every fix breaking something until it then broke the first one, and then that one got fixed and then broke the second one. It's like, oh man, that's just hilarious. The fun thing was, and in doing that, I did learn more about, what's happening in all these steps. And the next solution was going to just stack override and finding actual people answers, and then was easy fix after that one. Hey there, Travis04. Hope you're doing well. Alright, let's close all those, and then we can have a start here, because we have attack manager, audio manager, enemy manager, player manager. Let's do a separate one for just damage manager, I think. Because then no matter who is getting damage, we can use the same global sort of... It'll be separate, because otherwise if the player gets damaged or the enemy gets damaged, we'd have to have the same one in both. Yeah. With a separate damage manager. So we go to... Project Settings, Globals, Damage Manager, Add, inside Globals, Open, Globals Damage. There we go. So I'm going to want this one. And I used AI CLI tools to manage OS configs. And theming stuffs a lot, as it was A, reliable, and B, free. Yeah. Sounds good. If you do 50 push-ups, I'll give you 50 gifted subs. Cool. Nah. I'm good. Okay, not for you. Yeah, not for me. Plus, I can't do 50 push-ups. I'm fat and out of shape.
Good morning, Mr. Hanu.
Well, hello there. Hello there, Oshuk. Hope you're doing well. Hello there, Kim. Nice seeing you, my friend. Gonna tank. It did not work because he kept telling me that program X or Y would handle what I needed until I actually went through their documentation to find it could not separate inputs. Eventually, I had told it I was confident enough to program it myself, and then it actually helped. Nice. Yeah, but even there, there's a lot to be learned through failure. So I like that, because in that sense, because when then you have to go through all these things, and then you figure out, oh, this doesn't work, but you then realize, okay, this is something we could have done if this. but sadly that was not the case. And then documentation, very, very important. So if you get the documentation into the documentation state, then you get into reading that, and then you understood, okay, well, this will read to that, and that's why this can't work, because the documentation says this, and then you can get it to, figure it all out. So it sounds like it was still a good learning journey. So again, perfect for that kind of work. So, no ready or process things, because this is our global. RTFM, read the friggin' manual. That is very true. Absolutely true. Documentation, extremely important. One of these days, I'll probably add proper documentation to a project I'm making. But so far, it's mostly me just trying to make the code, as they say, self-documenting. And we'll have these, and I think it'll have to be a UI element. We'll look at that one later. First, we'll do the logic for handling damage. Then we'll do the logic for making a damage number appear. Because we're going to make a scene that has essentially just a label that is animated through tweens to pop up, grow, fall down. So we have a little bit of animation there. And then fade out, disappear, and delete itself. And we'll save that inside the UI folder, because it is a damage number, some very much a UI element. And it will be triggered through the damage handler. So the damage handler needs to know who is damaged and so on, so we can give the correct coordinates. Yeah, we can make that work. Most definitely. And if we have time, we'll look at the beam. I had that sort of realization that we need how we can fix that beam animation as well. Right, so start with just the handle damage. So now I need to figure out, how does this thing actually work? What does it need? It needs a list of attacks and resistances. Now the problem is, how do we determine resistances? They should probably be similar to the filter system, so it's values between 0 and 1. Alright, we're going to jump back to Krita here. So okay, let's do a little visual representation of the logic here. So, we'll do, attack comes and hits object. An attack happens. Then information is sent to attack handler. Who does it? Is it the one who's doing the attack or the one who got attacked? Well, one of you sent a request to the damage handler for what the fuck? Shorten this to DMG underscore handler. Now, damage handler needs technically the IDs information from both, so we'll use that visual. And it compares the attack damage to the defense resistances. Alright. And it then creates a new what's called the damage resource for now, and sends that all the way back. I mean, the attack doesn't care anymore. What the fuck happened? But it sends that back to the target. So the target knows how much damage did it take, and then the target can figure out, am I dead? And what happens next, and so on. So that is the logic here. So we'll need the attack damage information from the attack itself. And the targets will need the location and defense resistance, because we need the location so that we do target location is sent to visualizer DMG numbers. So this order means we need two bits of information from whoever just got attacked. So we'll in fact send a direct reference to the target itself, the attack. But what if in the future then the attack has other... Like I was thinking, like if we have an attack where, we send a bolt and then there's an explosion. So the bolt would then do no damage, but the explosion would, so this would still work. But we might need more information, like what if there's a knockback effect or other effects. Okay, so we'll send a reference to both the attack node and the target node. And we can then add complexity to how all of this is, mathed. Yeah, because I was wondering, should I only send, damage information to the damage handler? Now, the damage handler can handle both, and then depending on what kind of information it gets, it will then determine what all math needs to happen. Is there a knockback effect? Well, if there is, then we need to figure out in what direction does the knockback happen. So we'll need then it's good the thing that we have a reference to both the attack and the target, because then we can, cross-reference from there where they are in relation to each other to determine in which direction a knockback happens. Yeah. And the array for potential effects would most likely be in a separate one from the elemental structure. Yeah, okay. Yeah, and then damage resistance is only given back to the target itself. Maybe the target itself would have its own function that is being called I don't know, take damage. Or something like resolve the damage, let's put it that way. Yeah. Works for me. Because then we could have we'll have this be similar to how we did the filtration system, where we multiplied, X with Y. So Y has to be between 0 and 1 for it to be a percentage system. So, and the damage will then be actual numbers because, numbers good. So, handle damage. Would take in the attacker, which is a node, and the target, which will also be a node, because I don't know yet what all specific nodes would be. Plus, we might have separate ones, because the attacker will do the... Maybe spell it correctly. Usually helps. You see, this is why I like enums, because I fuck up. And now it's time to put the Wacom tablet away. Yes, it's already weird discovering that the simple system turns out to be slightly more complex. I'm still haunted by those 50 push-ups, and just remember man, there was a time when I could do that. But I'm now grown old and fat. Fat in my dotage. As Bilbo would say. Oh yeah. Yeah, because the attacker is currently an area 2D node, but we could have different objects. We could use inbuilt physics for what if you hurl a magical attack that is an actual physical object, and this one would still be able to recognize that as a valid attack. And then the target could also be different ones, because we'll then have different nodes to be enemies. We could then have structures, so you can break down walls and all that. And this should be able to handle any and all valid attacker and target nodes. We can then add more filtration systems here. We can check if attacker is in group, and then we add a list of groups where you could be in and so on. Yeah, excellent. So this is becoming, as I do desire them to be, modular. and adjustable. Now, from the attacker, we would then have a variable of damage, which would be of the type elemental power, equals attacker dot get underscore damage. And to specify, it'll be attack at the damage, no, ATK, so attack damage. Then we'll have the variable for resistances, which is a elemental power as well, which we get from target dot get underscore resistances. Okay. But neither of those functions exist currently. Well, that's fine. We'll get there. Now, yeah. You're reinventing Pokemon, I see. Well, hello there, Neon N. Hope you're doing well. Yeah. Although, I do actually have a monster training game in mind. Though there's less capturing monsters and more like collecting body parts to build your own monsters. I have one more like Necromancer Pokemon thing. Hope you're doing well, Neon. I saw you were playing Nuzlocke the other day. How was that going? Oh, you still, yeah, last seen streaming Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green. How did that go? I know I'm not fully... Isn't like the Nuzlocke challenge so that you sort of have to like capture the first Pokemon you encounter and then train that one up in a certain... There's like this whole like list of rules for that one. It seems like an interesting challenge. I saw Raggy do some Nuzlocke runs last year. Yeah, I said good morning to you. I hope it was well. To all Shug. It was fun. My first Nuzlocke. Pretty interesting. I think I'd have more fun if it was a randomizer Nuzlocke. Maybe. I played Pokemon Yellow and Pokemon Red, I think. On actual Game Boys. Back in the day. After that, I haven't really gotten that into them. Played a little bit on an completely legitimate, not an emulator. I've done all of them up to Sun/Moon. Ooh, neat. Should we get a... I think we can get resistances. It is the target up to the target to make sure what it is giving up is an actual resistance array. Oh, and Sword Shield on Switch. Yeah, I like them. They certainly aren't innovating. Yeah, I mean, if it works, why break it? You know, don't fix it if it ain't broken, kind of thing. It is a very known format, narrative, story, and world for a game. And people who, if you get a new Pokemon game, you're expecting more of the same, with maybe a little bit of a twist or slightly more different kind of content. You know, this Western sort of like idea, like we have to reinvent everything, isn't always the best idea. Sometimes people just want more of the same, and that is a-okay. Then we'll probably do, for the logic's sake, we'll do resolve underscore. And you give in the damage. We had a function here called resolve. And you have an input of damage of a type of elemental power. Of type elemental power. And so far you can output a void, because again we're getting those as references, so any changes we make into elemental power will be fine. Spelled resolved wrong in the function call above. Lovely. Thanks, Neon. Yep, that's why I don't like using strings as identifier for things, but I never like things like enums and things. Gotta save myself from myself kind of shit. Ooh, there's... No. Now what do we do? Then we do for LM for elements in damage dot get elements. No, we'll do damage and just make it a variable. Call for call damage underscore damage elements, which equals or has the value of that damage elements and your dictionary. Resistance elements and resistances. I'm so bad at diving into starting new coding projects, but I'm like some kind of weirdo. I like debugging non-working code projects. There's nothing weird about that, man. That shit is fun. It's a puzzle to solve. You could straight up make a game about just debugging code. And you get points for how well it worked. To the point that, you know, actually I have an entire school system based on that, and I kind of went to one of those. And then we do damage elements in the brackets, element in question times equals resistance elements. Now here's the question: should they already be recognized as resistances? So the output should be between 0 and -1. Or should we just add a -1 here? And to make sure the maths correctly, we'll do it like that. So we do resistance elements LM, we get a float, we -1, because it is a float, so we should not give it an int, even though it'll handle that just fine. But again, for clarity, that won't work. Wait, yes it will. Because then we're left with, if it's 0, it turns into 0. If it is yeah, 1 turns 0. So you have a full resistance, take no damage. Yeah, that was perfect. There we go. And 0.9 turns into 0.1, so that's the only very small amount. If it has 0 resistance, -1 turns into a -1. All right. Now, let's do it this way, because this way we end up then with the damage elements list. That will be pretty much the amount of the numbers we need to take out from the original. You can probably do all this in like one clever ongoing big math thing, but let's do it like step by step instead. Because if we look at like these, so if we look at an elemental power, we had add power, Let's just make an equal and opposite. Func. Remove power. New. Shit, we'll just copy paste the entire thing. Remove, change from add to remove. And change that from plus to a minus. Then we go here. Once we for loop through all the elements in question. Then, because get elements, if I also remember correctly, gives us a duplicate of the original. So yeah, so any change we make here hasn't touched the actual original, but we do want to touch the original. So damage dot remove power damage elements. We can remove these brackets. So, a very nice and simple system. And remove power argument, one should be elemental power, but it is a dictionary. Let's see here. So we change this one. So dictionary. And for clarity's sake, we add the word underscore dict. Move power dict. Then we can have add power dict. Make that kind of versions. Underscore dict for the dictionary. So now the damage we got from the attacker here, attacker get damage, has been changed into the actual damage being given to our target. Now, of course, we do have one problem, which is what if we've created negative values? Well, I don't know how to fix that, so we'll leave that as a quirk because we might want to leave negative values. Like, what if certain elements you have a resistance high enough so you can get actual healing, once your resistance goes above 100%. Now, that's a fun mechanic, in my opinion. A fun option to add in. And something we could then deal with once we get there, because right now it's not important. The most important thing is that would not break anything. It would just... we can have our actual damage taking be, say, like, hey, yo, if the value is below 0, ignore it. Flip it around. Take damage from values that are positive. Any value above 0, it counts as something that you can take damage from, and that way we don't have to. Then we can completely ignore the negatives, and then separately add a check for, well, if one of them or some of them are negative, then do something different. Yeah, making perfect. So now we have information about our attacker. We have information about our target. They're both nodes. We're both calling in functions that don't exist currently. Oh, sorry about that. Oh, yeah. I'm suffering from greedy pig syndrome. I had a cheat day yesterday and I ate so much it literally hurts. I regret nothing. So it is a fun effect of having just eating so little that your stomach ends up shrinking a bit. So then you go like, oh man, I used to easily eat an entire pizza, then eating an entire pizza, and then some candy on top, and you're like, oh, and it still hurts the day after. You gotta love GPS, greedy pig syndrome. Now what do I do after this? Now we have the information, so essentially we could do then a target dot take underscore damage. There you go. And we have now changed damage. The elemental power list here, and we give the entire elemental power list there. Because again, we don't we might change how the old elemental power system works. So in this way, this one has separately resolve resistances that deals with all of that. And you do these calculations. Now, I think we would have to then print it here as well. We do spawn underscore damage underscore number with both damage and we'll give it the entire target for now, but I don't think we'll need that. We'll only need its location. So, because we know it has a node location because it is an actual node, and nodes exist inside the seed tree, so they have coordinates. So we could do target dot as a position, and we'll specifically want its global underscore position. There you go. Then we do a func for spawn underscore damage underscore number, and you're taking in damage, which is of a elemental power type, and a target underscore pulse of a type vector 2. No outputs because, well, you do you, and no one else cares if you succeed or not. Now this means we're gonna have to then do a variable for new DMG underscore number, and well, that doesn't exist yet. So now we go to UI, and we create and use UI scene user interface, scene name, damage number, and you I'm going to change your type from a control to just a label. I think that'll be enough. We'll figure it out. Label settings, we'll do a center alignment. I don't think the number's ever going to get that big, so we'll just slap you there for now. And can I, no, choose from there, no, here. No, I think your 0 point will always be there. But I would like, let's see here, layouts. Here we have the transform, where we have your size. Oh, wrong one. Both of those for expand and you to become the smallest you can. And you jump there. For some reason. Change position to 0, 0. Went back there. Oh well. What's gonna need is some code. And we'll do var here for damage taken, which is we can come as floats. Then a variable for element, which would be a string for now. No. You get your color and damage taken determined by you. You're not determining anything. The external thing calling you will tell you what you're going to look like. When ready, we do text as the value of the stringify value of damage taken and we see if I can remember. Point 0. Man, always the same shit. Good old format numbers. There you go. Yeah, that's the way it went. Got OBS back. Trailing spaces. The length of 7 round to 3. Format string equals whatever format string. Oh, that's neat. But what we need to do is just point 0. D, I think. Because I don't care. I just want the... Okay, for testing, we'll make it like 0.3 or something. Yeah. Now add a percentage there. So, 0.0, no. 0.3 F. At a maximum of 3 points of post decimal numbers. There we go. Now, then we do self. No, we just do I don't think you cannot have children, but let's do self-motivate just in case equals color. And we'll do a func for setup underscore numbers. We'll have damage of type float and new underscore color of type color with a default value of color dot magenta. Just in case something fucks up, we get a magenta number, we'll know, hey, that ain't right. And void. Where damage taken takes the value damage. We can even give this one a default value that'll 69.420 because we have 3. And then color takes the value of new color. So we got some silly defaults. If we see that thing pop up, we know something went wrong. And then we want animate. I think we need a process. We'll leave it the one there for now. We'll do this so we don't get all these deep bug messages. Add a function. Call this one animate. Oh, no inputs, no outputs. And what we do is var new underscore tween. Fuck it, we just call it tween. Tween, which is, I know for a fact, will be a tween equals new underscore. Or was it a get tree then tween? Get underscore tree dot new underscore. Called create tween. There you go. So now we have a tween. And what tween is an inbuilt animation node essentially, which is what we're gonna use. Animate. Damn you. So we're gonna animate our motion here. Now, and of course, setup numbers. We'll also then need our new underscore position, which will be of a type vector2, and then can have mandatory parameters after optional parameters. And we'll change the order, it's fine. Your global position takes the value of, now we'll just call you, not new position, I can do target position. This is a problem for me. I keep on like renaming things in a way that will make sense, but then we just things get like so, well, a bit too long. Remove you. One mandatory, a couple of optionals. Animate. Animate. There you go. The mate for Annie. The animate. Finally. We can move on to the proper drink. The lemon juice had gotten cold, which means probably bad news for the coffee. I really need a freaking coffee machine here. It'd be fucking amazing. There we go. Lovely. Now what the tween will do is we do, if I can remember how to use these, we do tween and, dot. We tween a property. The object is simply self. The property is be given as a string, which makes me itchy. I don't like that. The final value is a vector 2 and I do believe it would be 0 followed by let's say 10. Also they're floats. Then we dot no, it's not there, it's here, dot as relative. Oh yeah, and duration, how long will it take to get there? We do 0.3 seconds as relative, followed by as relative back to where we just were. We do dot set ease out, so you can like blast out of there. Dot set ease and ease in, if I remember correctly. Ease out, the interpolation starts quickly and then slows out towards the end. Yeah, so ease out and then ease in. So it goes like jump, slows, and then falls down quickly. And here we go, image number. Then we also do queen property self and wait, do we have a color value of our own? Let's go with modulate. Modulate. Final value is a color with code string alpha floats. So with modulation, we want one red, green, and blue. And then an alpha channel at 0. At 0.3. Now what was called? But we want to call something parallel, so we do good old search. The sequence and will make the sprite node turn red, then shrink, before finally running node Q3. Set parallel. If parallel is true, the tweeners appended after this method will be by default run simultaneously. Alright, we'll see if that works. So if this one then had dot set underscore Oh, no. Whoops. And there. So do these out. And then with an easy and fall down while it's simultaneously turning invisible, followed by a Q free. And to make sure, we await dot the finished. Now did I get that? Runs together with a positional tweener. Just like with parallel, the tweener added right before this method will also be a part of this parallel step. Okay. So, it is in fact like that, how I want it. Because then we're doing that, they're running the animation to go down and animation to turn invisible simultaneously, and once the invisible one is finished, then we run the Q free. If this works the way I hope. So then we look at our damage manager. Congratulations, here's a thing for you. Now we new DMD number is a damage number that we instantiate. So now it exists. So now we can do new damage number dot setup numbers needs a target position. Well, we have the target position there, so we do the target position. Wonderful. So now we know where the number would be popping up. Now we're gonna need to figure out how much damage and of what element. Currently we're doing single element systems, so we'll just roll with that for now. And we'll solve the problem of multi-elemental damage eventually. Fuck that, let's do it now. I know exactly how to do it, because we look at every number that is above 0. There's a positive, and we give it its own damage number. So that way, if multiple elements impact and do damage, you'll have 2 damage numbers. Yeah, works for me. That means we'll have to add a randomizer in direction, but that's something we can work with. I want to add that anyway, because if they all like pump up and bounce directly up where they are, they'll easily hide each other, and sorry. Oh, indigestion, gotta love it. Greedy pig syndrome, gotta love it. Now, currently we'll do, you know what? Let's just leave that as it is. So we should be getting a 69,420, which is magenta, which is enough for testing purposes, rather than now figuring out too much math. Now, for damage manager, we do handle damage. Let's run through this logic again. We tell it who is attacking, what is attacking, what is doing the damage, and what is the target. Then we make copies of the elemental powers. Actually, no, we'll get just the elemental powers, and then they are thrown into resolve resistances, which is then calculating how much damage will damage actually make. We give that information back to our target so it can resolve how much damage did it take. And we simultaneously, and after we let them deal with that, we spawn in a damage number to tell the player what the heck just happened. Now this logic would then have to change, but so we do in case we get distracted, because it might make separate number for the every element doing damage. Now if we do end up with having like a really complex multi-element systems, that won't work now, will it? Because if we have like 10 separate elements, doing like a omni-elemental damage kind of thing. We can't have like 58 numbers all saying like 0.3, because which then eventually adds up to, you know, a bigger number. Shit. So we'll add a question mark or a there. Now it's a question. So a collective total damage with a mixed color of all the elements involved, which would make a lot of brown numbers, I guess, but we could work with that. I'm okay with this. We'll have to. That sounds like honestly, that sounds like a down the line problem where we start thinking about the visuals and art of everything. Because, like I was saying, I want the attacks themselves to be affected by their elemental constitution. Because, like I said, right now our filtration systems, everything is based on creating like these single element attacks. But I'd like for there to be some more information about the inefficiency or like dirtiness of the magic going in there, which would then be just generally affecting its. So let's say, saturation, I guess. For nice, bright, strong colors, you want a mono elemental thing. But if it's mixed up with all kinds of junk, it's less effective and the whole color gets a little more gray. Yeah. Yeah, I see it. But also, not something I need to be doing right now. I gotta try to stay on track and just slap in these to-dos everywhere with questions of how to do it. So once we do get to solving that issue. So in that sense, we need to also figure out to change, not to give you a damage, because you don't care. You should only be getting a number. And currently damage is this guy. So change you, not you, sorry. Add some more separation so it's more clear. From we do damage, underscore num, and you're not an elemental power. You're a float. You don't care. And we do damage and dot get underscore total. We'll let the elemental array deal with how it calculates that. Because we had one of those, and I think it's still there. If it isn't, easy enough to make. Just have another for loop that just adds it all together. So I was thinking like, hey, we could just store a total, but I create the new ones of those so often, so it's better to like, yeah, we'll just calculate the total only when we need it, not just in case you might need it. Okay. First thing we do, we check, do we have a get total? Float equals 0 for elemental power plus equals, yeah, perfect. We have a total, we can work with that. We even have get main element, which gives main element a string. So we need to check main element for figuring out the color. We'll get there. The damage manager needs to know the attacker and the target. Now we need to look at our attack. Our attack scene and its logic here. So damage manager gets the attacker and calls a get attack damage. So we'll be giving this entire guy here. We have set. Good. We have these be the core of it. One body entered, yeah. Assign attack details. Choose animation, but you probably get that set animation so it's more clear that it fits with all that one. Attack detail set animation. Right, okay, yeah. Okay, so we ask the attack details to figure out what the animation is, and then we assign it to our own animation. So we could have that one actually have an output, which would make these two a single line, but that is okay. works for now. So we'll do a quick little... Essentially, these are all setters. And we'll have here a whoopa. Hello there, Just Zach, and welcome in, Raiders. How are you all doing? Hope you're having a lovely day. What are we up to? Ooh, Vintage Story. Heck yeah. What a beautiful and wonderful game indeed. Hope you're having a lovely day. Getters. And hi, Raiders. For those who don't know me, I'm Hanno, son of Hanno, writer, streamer, great enjoyer of Vintage Story, and occasionally, as you can see, an amateur game developer. Well, I guess I'm now, I try to be almost at every stream. Sometimes you have a bad day. But, you know, I used to do...
solo, and I forgot how much I hate clay forming.
Oh, unfortunate. I haven't done a solo run in ages in Vintage. I really should do it again. I really like the clay forming, but that's the thing. That's what I like about Vintage Story and the modding community. Because if you hate that shit, well, just get the Napster mod, and you can just automate yourself through that. I like those kind of mini games, but that's a question of taste, so it's okay. Not everything is for everyone. I hope you had a good time otherwise. We do funk, no fungi here, but yeah. This year we started a long-term game project. Because last year I've been doing my Sunday game devs, which is I live in Sunday currently. If anyway, new time zone, you might be in a different day. So we used to do our 3-hour game jams every Sunday. So which we might do more of this year, but currently we're more heavily focusing on the long-term game project of this year, which has the running current DIY wizard, because we're making runic circles to make attacks happen. I was using it, but when I'm making 40 things, it takes a while. Well, that is very true. That is very true. But then again, in any on all survival crafters where there is an involved crafting mechanic, yeah, if you're making things en masse, it'll take a while. For example, I'm assuming 40 things, so we'll be making a lot of pottery, or we'll be making shingles. Shingles is always quite the project. But, that's why you do a whole heck ton at once, and then you don't have to touch them for a while. Storage. Right. Yeah, I don't make that many storage vessels in the beginning usually because I try to get to the saw relatively quickly so I can make chests. And then I also find that, I really like the glazed ones. You can either buy or find in ruins. So I then try to collect those. But then you do always usually then end up with 3 or 4, or between 2 and 4, I should say. Basic ones. I try to get a bunch for food storage. Yeah, for food storage, exactly. Maybe I have been playing too much multiplayer, because I haven't really had to deal with winter in quite a while, because in multiplayer, the years happen so out of sync with when I play, so that's why I like moving further south immediately. Just do a vanilla run, and just stay in relative northness and actually deal with winter for once. It could be a fun challenge for me, because I do realize I don't think I've had to deal with it ever. Because, yeah, I haven't played a proper single player in ages. I do have a few ideas for that, actually. Add it to the ever-growing to-do list. But do you have so you're playing solo, do you have some idea there, some general goal? Try to build something, or just having fun? The only mod I'm running... It kind of changes anything is the Better Ruins mod. Yeah. It is a very cool one. Adds a whole lot of stuff. I like the way Killa does it, because then he has his own in self-made restrictions. If he finds progression ruining tools, which he might, he won't pick those up. Which is a sort of fun way to make sure you actually have to get your copper yourself. Because you might find copper or bronze tools, and if you get those early, I found this copper scythe. Well, that's because it's a struggle getting to your first metal, and then it's yes, try to build kingdom eventually. Ooh, that sounds cool. That's a fun project. What the hell was I doing? Yeah, we're doing get damage, I believe. Get 80k damage. There we go. Jump to attack here. Here we go. And you're outputting an elemental power, I believe. Yes. Okay. And can we just do a return on damage? We can actually, so perfect. That one was nice and easy. Works perfectly. Then our targets need to get resistances. So our targets is... Oh, there it is. The enemy piece of enemy code, which does fuck all, because it is an actual character body 2D, even if it is just a red square that does nothing. Oh, we're doing it this way so that we could make it respect physics. I found a scythe, but I'm not going to use it till after I get a pick and hammer. It's just sitting on a tool rack. Yeah, that's the kind of stuff. I wish there was better tools, or better runes, or some way to sort of have like limited drops kind of thing, like really effective, like unless the player has actually like crafted by themselves, item X, then item X or any tier beyond that cannot be dropped. I wonder if you could do that as a mod. Can you like have a record of what you actually made yourself? I guess you could, because you just... Wait, I don't know how the engine works, so I can't say that at all. But it would be interesting. You could just make that mod. Yeah, in theory, yes. In practice, probably. I have no idea how the game works. I never look under the hood. I do want to. I'm getting increasingly interested in modding because of, well, my interest in game dev. But I'm so used to like building everything from the ground up. So I'm not sure what I'll find. But it would be a good idea also because modding would then make me look through existing code for existing games that I know is good, that I know I like, which means I could then look at how did they solve these problems and also probably find solutions to problems I don't even know exist. The good old unknown unknowns problem. So that would be a good idea. I got no clue how to do any of that. Well, practice makes perfect if you ever find the interest. Like any and all skilled crafting. Practice makes perfect. Just gotta learn. No, the way... Shit we got here. Those don't exist. We do need... variable. Ooh. Thank you, Zemony Dragon, for that follow. I really do appreciate it. And I hope you have a wonderful day. But I'm sure someone could or has made a mod like that, but it might be out of date. Yeah, could be. Hard to say. I mean, that is one thing I really like about Vintage Story and why it really tempts me to look into modding is because it is made for modding. Because it was made essentially by a team that was modders who then decided, well, we're being restricted by the game we're modding, and so we're gonna make our own game. We're gonna make our own game, blackjack and hookers. And they did. And it's freaking amazing. Similarly, because I've been like seeing people play Hytale, and I've watched a little bit of people modding Hytale, and it seems like, ooh, that's also an interesting one. It's very different from Vintage Story because it is more, like Minecraft, things get dropped. It's more old school crafting compared to the Vintage Story, which has the realism heaviness, which is just what I love. It's so far what I've seen way better than Hytale. But from a modding perspective, Hytale then allows for a different kind of structures. That could also be interesting. Different kind of games. I'm really weak to that might though. Yeah, it could be a fun, just restricted progress mod, which looks into, because there's the vessels, and I don't know when during gameplay their contents are determined. Because if it is a gamble that happens when you break it, then that is doable. If their contents are determined at world generation, that's gonna be a problem. Because like I said, if it's a gamble that is like calculated when you break it, because then we can have flags which can then determine what is happening. I'm assuming how the engine would work. So then we could figure out, okay, what kind of things are allowed to be here. If the gamble puts forth a forbidden item, then it says like, nope, re-roll that one until it is within a allowed spectrum kind of thing. But if they're determined at world generation, well, then we need to figure out a way to rewrite their contents and turn it into a gamble that happens when you break it. Pretty much. Took me a second, but I remembered what I was doing. It's an elemental power. I have R for resistances. And now we are approaching the point where we really have to make add more complexity to the elemental power resource. Because now we need to make sure we can have on demand normalized values, so values between 0 and 1 there. Except resistance might go beyond that one. So yeah, we need a flag for it. Is it a resistance array, a damage array, or a filter? Because the filter can never go above 1, because, well, then it would add things out of, nothing. So I'd rather have them built in, just in case. Might though, yeah. And well worth it. The modding community is very robust. And feels like a semi-basic idea, so someone would have at least tried to make something like that. And the marketplace is just wonderful. We have just the one enemy, so I guess we could hardcode get the enemy being just a piece of red block. Now we need to figure this shit out. So I guess we'll be equals elemental power dot new, because we need to have at least an empty one, otherwise the math is gonna break so bad. And then we do a function for get no. Start with that one. Then we get underscore get resistances, which turns an elemental power, and you return resistances. So there we go. Now should be giving out an empty one. In theory. We clickety clackety on the level, press F6. Will you explode? Not yet. We need to bolt, power, earth, big on. Excellent. Oh, god damn. Wrong one. Again, not a bad song. It's just, it has a lot of luxury and whoop 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 effects, and they just tickle my ADHD wrong. Now, damage manager has handle damage. When do we call handle damage? We need the attacker information, the target information. In other words, the attack itself in on-body entered, which currently just prints enemy hit, will in fact, now before it deletes itself, call upon the dark magics of the damage manager, handle damage, while the attacker would know, that would be yourself, wouldn't it? And your target, in this case, is body. Then we save F6 and see does shit break. It does. Invalid call, non-existent function, get element in base, nil. Wonderful. So there is a damage elements dictionary. Damage get element in resolve resistance. So damage elements is damage elemental power, which now is empty for some reason. Damage elemental power attacker.get damage. So why did that happen? We do at function resolve resistances. So handle damage, attacker, airbolt has all the information we would expect. Oh wait, can I just damage elements, damage? No. Null. Attacker. So resistance is worked. Well, why not that one? Attacker is a node. Attacker gets ATK damage. Get ATK damage, return damage. So here's null. Damage is an elemental power. Ah, Now that's an interesting thing because we've been like looking at the whole logic of trying to get these information back and forth, but apparently getting this one here, something we're not doing. See, we have all these details, some attack details, but not actual damage. Okay, that's pretty neat. Now attack base would then have the damage of the elemental power right there. So we do have set. Inside attack. So we do then. We do an underscore damage. Hopefully that'll break something. Yes, it did. Perfect. Underscore damage. And for you, underscore damage takes the value of ATK underscore whoops takes the value of ATK details dot damage. Bolt power air bolt fuel. Take damage in base character body 2D. Right. We do take damage inside enemy. Bunk. Whoop. Take damage. Void. Just fuck all. No, do a print. Took damage. Ouch. 8. Save. And currently you're giving the entire elemental power there. And there we go. You don't do anything with it. And try again. Enemy hit, took damage, ouch. Again, shit worked. Ah. You know what we don't have here? See, we're just giving these values. We never spawn it in. Oh, would you look at that? I hate you guys. There we go. So the new damage number is there. Then we need to add a child, but we can't just add a child with anyone. Now, target. Let's change that. Target, change back to node. There's a little something I want to do here, which is we do target, and not a child. We add is a sibling, because in case the enemy deletes itself, I don't want the damage number to disappear with it, because if we do add child, then as a child node of the enemy node, if the enemy goes through death animation, well, currently would be then just deleting itself completely. There would be a death animation. I'm not sure how we'll handle that, but the point is that should that thing, like the node, then properly disappear from the game, we don't want the number to disappear with it. They will be separate entities, and that's what we add as a sibling into the enemy container. I love the fact that they exist here, so we don't have to do like, target dot get parent dot add child. We can just do add sibling. Sorry. Ooh, a force readable name. What does that do? Force readable name. It's true. Improves the readability of the added sibling. not named, the sibling is renamed to its type. And if it shares name with a sibling, a number is suffixed more appropriately. This operation is very slow. As such, it is recommended leaving this to false, which assigns a dummy name featuring an at in both situations. Use add child instead of this method if you don't need the child node to be added below a specific node in the list of children. Notice internal. The added sibling will be internal to the added child's internal parameter. Okay, cool. Yeah. Works for me though. So now the damage manager here, you can add sibling, new damage number. We F6 in and we'll see how that works out. Instant crash. Invalid type in function spawn damage number. In base node damage manager GD cannot convert argument 2 from vector to object. Spawn damage get the right. Whoops, there you go. Try it again. Yo. Who died now? Tween set parallel. Invalid call, non-existent function set parallel in base tween. What? Damn new misspelling. You. Wonderful. It hits. Okay, let's check remotes. And I do believe we'd be inside the... So we see damage number pop into existence. Let's see here. When it's called, the final value will be used as relative value instead. Okay. Target position, global position, target position. Target global position. Stability, no. Let's see. Turn you off. True, the node z index is relative to its parent z index. If the node z index is 2, the parent effective z index is 3, and then its node effective z index will be 2 plus 3, 5. Make it 50. So it could be it was just thrown in behind shit for some reason. Damage never used. Position damage, new color. We should have all the information here. You say it's an incomplete format. Percentage. Zero 3F. Percentage, right? There was 2 percentages. God damn you, wrong one. No. Right. Cancel. Well, this one might be the problem with the bolt power here. Come on, pew pew pew. Interesting. It's only doing the... only going down. Raise that one to... do dots. Up times 50. Dot 0. But most importantly, heckin' worked. If I remove as relative, was that the problem? Because is it doing like relative to the previous one, and will this go actually down to the previous, the old position? We'll find out. So that was not the answer. I guess we'll just do copy of that one. Go from up to down and from 50 to say 20. There we go. So that should at least work now. And we can even change that to variable like jump height, so that we can determine that shit. Damage manager here is do spawn damage numbers, damage get total target. We have a damage num. And damage num. We have 6 in here. So damage should be 10. Right, so I guess we'll have to change that way from magenta, and I don't want to. Make it freaking sky blue. Sure, looks like your word worked. It would work. Like it should have worked. Yep. 10.0. We'll change that to a 0.1 for now. We'll actually not have those. We'll just change it into a 0D and see what that does. Oh. First of all, that would help. Nice. That contends. There we go. Then it takes 0.6 seconds to go through the entire animation. That is a-okay. The Q freeze is working. Now how do we determine the color? That's not important because we'll have to then, make that work with the multiple different, elements we'll come up with. So for now, that'll work. We'll look at damage number 2D. We'll change theme overrides, font size. There we go, now slightly more visible as well. Style. Yeah, I'll choose font and all that jazz eventually. But looks okay for now. We'll jump in here to just see what kind of madness did I just make. Clickety clackety on that one, and on that one, and this one. Okay, now the problem is, it is having that at 0 point for this one would be the top left. So what if we have a quick look, see at the damage numbers own thingamabob, global position equals target position, but that is actually not what we want. So here we do this, that. How about here we do another chain for our global position? We can even do a var for target boss being a vector 2. And we change this one to target boss equals target position. Another target position saved. And here we do Global position. Ready is called when it enters the scene. So our global position equals target position minus let's see size divided by 2. It worked. Because I'm hoping that as the size of the number changes, it would then also automatically equalize it. We're going to use the same trick now to fix the beam, because the beam is an issue. See, because it's launch 0 point is all the way fucking there. So, quick look see at let's look at the player manager here. Launch attack goes to attack manager. Attack manager spawns attacks. Okay, yes. Attack manager creates attack. Damage manager handles, damage. There might be like environmental effects doing damage, so the separation does ultimately make sense. Now, new attack, set new transform from attack transform. Attack transform, we get from transform 2D, attack details from attack base. Instantiate, new attack near the current map. Get attack container, add child, new attack. So at what point do I then So what if after we do the attack transform, we'll do okay, no, assign attack details. Okay, so it should be actually inside attack here. Set new transform, set new there we go. Attack transform, a new transform. And did we have attack type? Yes, we do. Here we do if attack type equals rune base type beam, then attack transform dot vector 2 dot right times size dot we set size, right? So dot right, yeah, underscore size dot x divided by 2. The This might be completely silly bollocks. We're gonna find out now. So we do a bolt, power, air. Nothing's broken yet. Click on the beam. No. So we have right. No wait, I forgot you. Returns a copy of the transform translated by the given offset. There we go. Now tag manager. Now we try again. Bolt, power, air, fuel. Beam. Still has the issue. If rune-based type beam attack type equals beam. Find the attack details goes first. Then we set the new transform. Then we add the channel. Inside init we do new damage. Elements. Set animation, set bolt animation. Here we go. Animation, animation, 2D animation, self-transform, stack transport, dot scaled local. Set new transform. If attack beam is that one, now this one is called after this one. So how about we do here then? Dot scaled. No, this one is just doing the setting. I was learning to control myself. A little bit of a silly thing, we'll just freaking do it there. We do air, we do power, we do bolt, but it still works. I have achieved nothing. If attack type equals rune-based beam, print is beam. do get in there. Self-transport equals self-transport translated local into vector2.right times size.x divided by 2. We do the scaled local, which twists it up. That one's fine. Then the self-transform equals self-transform translated local vector to right. So we do is beam. So we do beam trans stringify that shit. We save. Try again. Beam our air fuel. 1.5. Yeah, because it's the 3, because the multiplier of 3 for the scaling, but for this one we need actual pixel numbers. So probably is doing it. But we don't want the size X. But specifically that one. It might be correct. We'll find out soon enough. Because if we do then a beamy and a power and give it the power of Earth. Pew pew. Oh yeah, we haven't given it any freaking elemental shit, so that's okay. Beam translate dimension 1.5. Self-transform X. Interesting. Get scale. Transform 2D is a transform. Properties vector 2. Alright. So I actually don't want to fuck around with this transform at all. So if we look at then the attack itself, it does have scale and position, collision, gravity. So here we scale it locally. Animated sprite. which should have surely some kind of size information here. Interesting. Interesting, they have a position, a rotation, a scale, and a skew. With all of this, how about collision shape then? Well, this one has a radius. Alright. If we look at you, and I walk around this shit. So the radius scale changes and the position changes. And the problem is that the position remains at 0. So how about this one? Because we now have to change the shape of the collision as well. So if we change for a beam, well, radius is here 16. Well, we have to be able to change that kind of details here in as well, rather than just changing this thing's like generic freaking transform. We want to be able to, you know, shift all of that. Scale stretches there. So we'll have 16. Size divided by 2 times 16. Well, it'll do something. For it to boom. Heck, can work though. So that's neat. And the problem is, of course, that we're doing that using the skewing transformation that is like just stretching everything, which means there's most likely a whole bunch of math happening there. And we don't want that kind of shit. We want to have predetermined just numbers. Because multiplication is one of the things that really costs information. Like, not as much as division and so on. That's why usually, oftentimes, if you're, you really want things to be min-maxed for pure efficiency, you do it times 0.5 rather than divided by 2. Because for some reason, yeah, the math between division has more steps than multiplication. Which is, in a way, kind of neat. least in C. Green translate did work though, so I'm happy with that. That has worked pretty perfectly. So, if worked better than I expected. I feel like there's something happening there because we're looking at we're getting a vector 2 into the print here. We're not supposed to do that. Size, then we do point X. Point X. And do you still work? Because I only wanted to move it in the X axis. Well, oddly, it still worked. And I like the idea of this with the whole beam. See, it doesn't move anywhere. Does the demarge go here? Oh yeah, the beam deletes itself, which is also quite okay. Probably change the length that the beam exists and have it as a sort of following the where you're aiming kind of thing. I do like the number. So, we now have damage numbers popping into existence. We didn't check one last thing. Hold. Should give out a 15? Or yeah, so changing power here does in fact change the amount of damage we bring upon the enemy, the most evil and dastardly red square. Here's a funny question. Can I move it around? No. Phew. So that shit works. Heckin' wonderful. Yeah, 3 to 1. And we want the cooldown and all that to not happen if we don't have anything happen. So let's have a quick look-see at the cooldown. We do slightly more than the 2 hours. We've gone past that already, which is a victory. But I'm annoyed at the whole cooldown always activating even though we can't actually make an attack. So we'll look at the attack manager. We spawn an attack using attack transform 2D, attack details, attack base. Now, where do we initiate? Let's get player here. Okay, if input is action, just press attack, and cooldown timer is stopped. Cooldown timer start, player manager get cooldown, and player manager launch attack. Which means we need to add one more thing we're checking here. Probably inside player manager. So we do var can underscore attack bool equals false. So that goes if can attack do attack. In other words, we go to player, we do and player manager dot can attack equals true. Then we'll look at the player manager, circle base, and rune containers. So every time we check circle, we do pom pom pom. If rune equals null, rune activate does not equal null. Else player manager dot can attack takes a value of false. So we can't do a rune thing, turn can attack off. Otherwise, before that one, player manager dot can attack takes in the value of true. So it will only remain true if all runes go through. See, click buttons, nothing's happening. Bolt, nothing's happening. Power, nothing's happening. Here, we can launch an attack and shit works. Nice. Fun and simple, and we're gonna have a quick look-see at that thing, which is mildly annoying me, which is most likely enter player cooldown. Whoop, there we go. Bar label, cool down. Text string cooldown dot time left, and we do a thing where we percent. I said percent. I pushed the wrong button there. Dot to F percent cooldown timer time left. We save that. We'll look at the bar itself, no, the label, and center align everything. Go here, F6. Now 0.0, default power here. See, looks much better, much neater. I'm okay with that. And the numbers there, heck. Again, one of those things which kind of feels like, did we really achieve anything today? But yes, we did. So we're gonna save all these wonderful changes, jump into Krita here, and we'd say damage number for visuals is absolutely a success. Damage handling, heckin' absolute freaking success. Yeah. Now, are we handling all resistances correctly? I don't know. We haven't really, not really testing those. So that'll be at another time, because we've gone over 2 hours and I desperately need to go to the toilet. So I'll leave you all to stare at this beautiful bit of stuff. Yeah. And I shall be right back. See you soon. No, wrong one. See you soon. Hello. I returned. And now it is time to change the category. By changing the scene. There we go. Starting soon. Let's give a fun title. We'll have like Stationeers. There we go. That should work. Then we do a good old save everything here on the video. Save it in krita, don't know you. Well, bring up my browsers. There we go. Everything changed there. Wonderful, wonderful. And now we have to then, of course, switch over the category on YouTube, which means we'll be stopping the live stream and then restarting as soon as I got the new info in there. So, thanks for hanging out, YouTube. I'll see you soon.